Hi, welcome back to Art and Soul. My name is Mike Severin. I'm glad you could join me today. And it's exciting because we're going to start in on our new painting. And I've kind of in the background here, I don't know if you can see it very well. I've got kind of a old schooner ship that I've painted, kind of a night scene with the moon shining, and with the waves and the water is splashing up there on the ship. I still haven't finished this one. This is just one that I was working on in the studio, and I thought I would just bring it along with me tonight because we're gonna kind of do a similar picture, only with just a regular sailboat rather than a big schooner ship. So we've got our normal 16 by 20 stretch canvas that we're working on today, and one little hint that I wanted to point out, the canvas when I pulled it out of the sleeve was a little bit had a lot of flex in it, and how you do that, and a lot of times you'll find that when you buy the canvases at the store, all you do is just take the back of it with a spray bottle and just spray the back of it, get this moist on the back, and what that does is as it dries, the canvas itself will stretch. And so a lot of people, in fact, for a long time, I actually threw canvases away because I didn't know that little hint. So just a little bit of something there just to kind of keep in mind if you end up with your situation yourself. Quickly, I'm going to go through the paints we're using tonight. We've got a phthalo blue, a Prussian blue, our titanium white, alizarin crimson, and then we have a phthalo violet that we're going to be using as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out with our big old brush here, and I'm going to jump right into our Prussian blue. I'm going to put in just a little bit of our thinner in there, or linseed oil, I should say, just to make it a little more fluid so that it flows better on the canvas. And so we'll start up here, and we just want these corners kind of dark. This is going to be a night scene, and so we want to have these, especially in these corners, especially dark. So we're bringing the focus in on our subject of that sailboat. And so we've just kind of roughed that in. We're going to bring in some of that darker down here in the corners as well of where the water will be. And you'll see that this process of getting this background set up is pretty easy. The last few weeks we've worked on a black canvas, and actually you could do that easily with this, and it would actually work out better, and you probably wouldn't use as much paint. But I think it's easier and shows better when it's on the white canvas on the show here. So we've just thrown in that straight Prussian blue in on the corners basically. And so now what we're going to do is I want to grab some of the titanium white, and I don't need a bunch of it, but just enough, just a big glob on the brush there, and we're just going to start laying in a little lighter. Still got that Prussian blue on the brush, so it's mixing with that titanium white on the canvas itself. We'll grab some more of that, maybe a hair bit of the linseed oil in there, make it a little more fluid. And all we're doing basically right now is just trying to make sure that we get all of that canvas covered and filled in, all that, the tooth of the canvas. And now what I want to do is I want to start incorporating in a little bit of more of a lavenders into it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab just some of that alizarin crimson, and I'll take just a splash of that white on there as well. And as you can see, as it's going onto the canvas, it's really blending that blue that's there on the brush, as well as the alizarin crimson and the white, and it gives us that really pretty mauve-ish color. That looks pretty good. I like how that's working out. So I'm, again, just a little bit of on the corner of that end of the brush and some white on the other side, and we'll hit this side. And if there's a certain shade of lavender or mauve that you're wanting to have in your painting, then you can add more of the alizarin crimson to it or less, whichever you would like. And I'm just kind of lightly bringing some of that across into the sky, up a little higher up. And if you've noticed, I've left a little bit of a white spot that's right here in the top, and that's where we're gonna have a moon here in a little bit. So I want to continue this down, and right along the horizon line of where the ocean is going to meet with our sky, it's going to be a little bit darker. So I'm going to take more of that Prussian blue, and we're going to say, because we don't want it right across in the middle here, we want it just a little bit below. So this is going to be our horizon line across here. And I didn't measure it, but you might want to measure it just to make sure that it's the same distance on both sides. You don't want it to look like the water's running off the side of the canvas. So I just grabbed a glob of the titanium white, still with the Prussian blue, that mauve, it's all still in that brush. And I want to just bring that sky down to our horizon line. And because this is night, that where the sky and the horizon line is not going to be a real defined line across there. It'll be kind of just kind of fades off into the background. You can't really see exactly where that water line is at. So, see, it's pretty simple, pretty fast. I think I want a little more alizarin crimson across down here to bring in more of the mauves into that lower section here, more towards the horizon line. Yeah, I like that. And then, this is a personal preference. It depends on what kind of a sky you're wanting and whether you want it really stormy. For us, in this one, we're just going to have kind of it'll be a little bit of movement. Obviously, sailboat's going to be sailing, but it's not going to be too stormy, and the water isn't going to be too extreme in the waves that we do. So we've done that, and I want to develop now where this moon is going to go. So I'm going to go straight in. I haven't cleaned my brush. If you notice, still using the same old dirty brush. Get some of that titanium white on the corner, and we'll just kind of maybe lighten up some of this where maybe the light is coming through, illuminating through. And I kind of like that. Just kind of lightens that sky up just a bit. Then I think what we'll do is I think we're going to actually put that moon in up here, about right here. And there's lots of ways we can do it. We can do it with a brush. I found the easiest way is just to use my finger, and I just grab some of the titanium white on it. And we don't want the moon really overpowering, but we're just going to go something about like that. And I'm just making a circle across there, and that should be good. And what we'll do is we'll have that light kind of reflecting across the surface of the water here when we get to it. We want to take now, and I just want to get this a little softer where that moon is. I don't want it really bright. So I'm just taking my same brush. I haven't cleaned it. All I'm doing is just getting the excess paint off of it. And I'm just really, really lightly, I mean lightly, just brushing in from all the different directions there. And it's still messed up a little bit around it, but we can take and fix that by just taking and just bringing that around like that. And then I want this kind of, maybe this cloud is kind of halfway blocking part of the moon that's coming through there. And we'll highlight out these clouds a little bit more next week after it dries a little bit, where we'll make it a little softer even than what it is right now, and kind of do the silver lining on those clouds. So I'm pretty happy with that. It's a really good start. Now what we're going to do is start developing our water, and a lot of people panic when they start thinking of water and think that it would be just a solid color across there, and it's really quite simple. I've just continued using the same brush, only this time what I'm doing is I'm going into the phthalo blue, and the phthalo blue is just a really translucent when we start adding our whites into it, which you'll see here in a minute. It really makes those colors pop in the water. So I've got that phthalo blue on the brush, and what I want to do is I want to start doing some of these just comma strokes. And I'm not, obviously this is a big brush, and you could use a smaller one, and we're going to go to a smaller one here in a minute, but we're just basically just trying to get some movement in the water itself and the way it looks. And obviously the waves that are the farthest away from us are going to be smaller, and they will progressively get larger as they get closer to us, obviously. So we're just doing those comma strokes across. And maybe in your painting you'll say, man, I'm really, once you get started, you'll go, man, I think I could like to have a big old cresting wave here and a beach down here. It's your painting. Once you get started on it, a lot of times I do that. I'll be in the middle of a painting and I'll see something else and change total directions in the painting in midstream, and that's okay. It's part of it. So what I've done is I've put down my little 3-inch brush, and I've picked up now just a bristle inch brush here, and we're going to switch it now to so we can be a little more defined in our waves as we're coming across, and just using just that phthalo blue. And every now and then you can grab some of the phthalo violet in there if you want. You'll see what all this does when we start adding in our whites into this. This is all, for those of you that aren't familiar, this is all part of what they call the underpainting. There's no final anything at this point in the painting. We're just basically doing everything that we need to start developing the painting and start putting in the intermediate highlights and more of the detail stuff that we'll be doing. So we've got kind of some wave action going on there. It's not real choppy, but it's not really smooth either. And I just grabbed some more of that phthalo violet. And we'll bring in now back into our phthalo blues. You can see the brush stroke. It's just basically just doing these commas. And what it's doing is you're actually picking up, just the wave action you would have. And then we'll come back in here in a little bit and start incorporating in some whites into it, which it'll make these blues and the violets just really pop and give it some depth. And we'll follow the layout, a lot of these brush strokes that we're putting down now. So it's just kind of going pretty good there. I just threw in just a splash of Prussian blue in there as well, just to kind of add a little variation and darken it up a little bit. Just mixing those right on the brush. And remember, in oil painting, it's a combination. You have to have the darks in order to have the lights. So that's what we're doing basically with the underpainting. Even though this is a night scene, it's still the same concept and you're still doing the same things. You have to have the dark in order to have the light. Well, that's going pretty good right there. Our sailboat's going to be kind of positioned maybe right about here, and the sail coming up. So I'm just kind of incorporating in some of those darks in there that might be where maybe a little bit of the shadow might be coming in from our moon, and wouldn't be a whole lot of shadowing, but there might be some in there. So we've pretty much got our canvas covered up here, and you can see quite a bit of wave action that's going there. And notice I'm not taking a whole lot of time either with my brush strokes. They're really free. And a lot of times that's where I think people get in trouble when they're painting, is they get too worried about each little stroke and they lose the freedom. So again, dirty brush, and all I'm doing is I'm going straight into my titanium white. And so it's going to be mixing as we're putting stuff on the canvas here as the paint goes on. Now I want to be a little more selective of where I put these, just to make it look like we've got our ocean has got the wave action that we're looking for. You can see this is really, there's not a whole lot to this, and I know that if you will just sit down and try it, you can do this yourself. I know if I can do this, you can do it. This has been kind of a rough week in many ways for me. I had a lady that I know that actually passed away just a few hours after last week's taping, and my heart goes out to her and her family and her kids and husband that she left. Just an incredible woman, Patty, and even in her fight with cancer, she just always had such a positive outlook on life and a real inspiration. And she didn't have any big fancy job or public position, but every single person that met Patty was touched by her, just by her presence. And I think sometimes I needed that reminder that sometimes we just get carried away in our lives and kind of get on this woe is me trip, and we don't think that we can have an impact on people because of where we're at in life, but you know, you just by your presence sometimes, and just those words of encouragement to people can make all the difference. And I know that in my own life that she had a definite positive influence on me. She definitely made the world a better place. And then I've got another friend that she's been battling with cancer, and every day she posts on Facebook, and just amazing woman. And you know, here she is, so many things that she could be down and discouraged about, and I know she has her moments, but yet she is so positive and encouraging people. And you know, I needed to hear some of those things, because I think we get sometimes in our little woe is me mode, and we just think that our life is so bad, but there's so many people that are in a lot worse situations that are still joyful and find happiness in spite of their adversity. And sometimes I feel so sorry for people, because there's so many people hurting right now, financially and physically, and family issues. And you know, sometimes it seems overwhelming, but you know, we've got a lot of things to be thankful for, even in spite of our situation sometimes. So, as you can see, as I was yapping away there, as always, I was just kind of laying in some of those whites. And as you can see, that phthalo blue and the phthalo violet, or the violet, they just really popped out, those colors did. And one of the things I want to do, we probably aren't going to have time today to block in our sailboat, but one thing I want to do is now that we've got our moon established, I want to take and get some highlights across the top of the water here, where that moon is reflecting off of the surface. And so I haven't cleaned my brush. I've just wiped off the excess, and I'm going straight into the titanium white. And I don't have a lot on the brush, but there's a fair amount on there. And then I just want to start bringing in these waves, hitting a few highlight spots across it. If you notice when you're out and looking at reflections like that, the farther something is away, it's going to be smaller, and then it's going to get larger as it comes towards us. So it'll be kind of light back here and get a little wider, a little wider, a little wider, until we come to the foreground. So just wanting just to barely graze the surface here. As you can see, that I mean, it really pops out when you do it that way. So we'll grab a little more of the titanium white on there and get some of these that are closer now. That looks pretty good. I like that. I like that a lot. And next week we can take and bring in a little more of the highlights in there, but for right now, that's a pretty good start on that. So I think what we're going to do, we're running out of time here, but I just want to kind of show you kind of an outline of what we're kind of going to do with that boat. And so I'm going to use the same brush, grab that Prussian blue, and we don't want this to be exactly center. We want it just off to the left. So we're going to take maybe the bow of the boat, something like this, and maybe coming down like this. I think that's probably pretty good. Maybe a little, it's almost like it's kind of coming kind of towards us and past us to the right. So that's kind of a good, just at least we've blocked that into where we know kind of where we want that to be. So between now and next week, if you're wanting to paint along with me, which I would encourage you to do, just get that sky and your water started, and maybe block in the kind of sailboat that you'd like to have in your painting, and then next week we'll start developing out that sailboat and get our sails up there, and I think we're going to have a really nice little painting when we get finished up with it. As always, our time is almost gone, and I always like to leave you with a few words before we go. And I'd like to leave you with this little analogy. I went through a divorce about 4 years ago, and after the divorce, I was really struggling, trying to find out where I was at and who I was. And I sat down for a couple of days, and I use the artichoke as an example of this process. To get to the heart of the artichoke, you have to peel back the leaves to get down to the heart. And inside on each of those leaves is a thorn. And what I did was I went through the process of peeling back emotional layer after emotional layer after emotional layer. And each of those emotional layers with that thorn, it was painful. I had to peel it back, even though it was painful. I looked at myself for good, the bad, and the ugly. And we all have it. Sometimes it's hard to acknowledge those things that we're maybe not so great at, maybe some of those personality traits that we have that aren't really the greatest. But it's all part of what you are made up of. And I went through that process, peeled back all those layers till I got down to who I was at the core. That's when I kind of went through a real healing process. Because once I knew who I was comfortable with who I was for all of my good, all the bad, and all the ugly, I was able then to begin the building process of healing and moving on in my life. Maybe you're in the middle of a struggle in your own life. It's easy to take and blame stuff on everyone else around you. I do the same thing. I think that's human nature. But maybe take some time for yourself to peel back some emotional layers to find out who you are, who you really are at the core. And I think that will help you to heal and be a blessing to others. And it's hard to love somebody if you can't love yourself. So with that, I'm going to leave you. I look forward to having you back here next week. If you'd like to contact me, I'm at the credits at the end of the show, you'll see. Until next week, have a blessed week. Be creative. CJ, I love you.